The nature of our business is obviously we are primarily dealing with Web2 businesses, kind of helping them move into the world of Web3. What they care about is how's it going to help my business, and as long as we can translate that accurately, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. I got my start in Web3 really from my degree. I went to Imperial College in London, did an undergrad in computer science. This started in 2012, so obviously Bitcoin was already moving, and as computer science people, you like to explore the latest tech. And then I did a master's in artificial intelligence, and for my master's thesis, this was the year Ethereum launched, 2015, I think, and seeing what you could do beyond just transacting, moving Bitcoin around, but actually having smart contracts and some kind of real on-chain code executed, that was quite exciting to us with the potential. So I did my thesis on film rights distribution with the person who went on to head up the Imperial Crypto Center. And it was really about how can smart contracts help both in terms of getting down the rights, but also understanding who the different parties are who are owed money or distributing the proceeds for the film. From there, when we really researched media more generally, we saw that probably music is where it applied a little better, the technology. And we saw live music was growing revenue-wise anyway, whilst recorded was kind of slumping off with streaming. So when Aventus first launched in 2017, it was all around ticket distribution. We had done a deal with Live Nation for one of their festivals in France, and this kind of ticketing app that was using the blockchain to ensure that you had greater control over the supply chain of a ticket was starting to get its traction. But then COVID occurred, and there weren't any events, nowhere. We had a look, and having gone from zero to an enterprise like Live Nation using this technology, we thought, how can we productize this and help any business, any kind of traditional enterprise that wants to build on this technology? And that's where Aventus in its current kind of iteration came about. So we started as a Ethereum-based ticketing protocol. We then found that we needed to be a layer 2 because Ethereum didn't have the properties needed for an enterprise, and Substrate just was the best technology out there to do this. So we built the Aventus network, which was a layer 2 on Ethereum, and then I think in 2021, we met SkyTail Digital, I met Mark Kachia, and learned more in depth about what the Polkadot ecosystem was really about. And that's where we started our migration, and here we are today, having been a parachain for 2 years in the Polkadot ecosystem. So the challenge with using Ethereum for enterprises, especially we're going back a few years, right? They still really had the scaling problem. When you sell tickets, it's not smooth traffic. You have an on sale for something that's popular, and there's a big spike in traffic for the hour where it goes live, and then it kind of trails off. So you need a system that can handle high load that comes quickly. That was not Ethereum. So one, we needed to solve the scalability challenge. And then two, when you sit with the CTO of one of these enterprises, their question is, how predictable is this pricing, right? You can't tell them that the solution is going to cost 100 grand plus or minus 200%. So creating any kind of predictability over pricing is basically impossible. So either as a business, you have to take that foreign exchange risk to a degree yourself, or you have to figure out a way that you can do your own pricing in a layer 2 that's much more constant. And then the migration to Polkadot, the real benefit there was initially the kind of crowd loan parachain process seemed to be a big pro, because for 2 years we knew there are no further payments, right? We're paying for the crowd loan participants in the Aventus token, and that's a constant kind of price. But as we start signing multi-year deals, you can only get 96 weeks of guarantee, and then you have to go for a new crowd loan. And that new crowd loan, you don't know how much DOT you're going to need in it. So that process actually started to become a prohibiting factor. It was more constant than Ethereum, but still, if we're signing a 3-year deal that's going over our 96 weeks, we end up in the same kind of situation. So that's what we really like about some of the new concepts that have been proposed in Polkadot 2.0, where you have much more control over getting that predictable cost base than you do with the parachain auction structure. all about the agile call time. You can pre-buy. You can obviously, if you already have a parachain slot, it's much easier there. And there's a secondary market where you can kind of pick up credits on the cheap. It's much more how we used to dealing with our billing on AWS with the kind of dynamic pricing. So it's a paradigm that's quite well understood by the engineering team to help optimize the cost base. The clients that we have at Aventus span a wide range of use cases, and the majority of them sit within the Web 2 space that are now moving into the Web 3 space. One of our clients, Enigmatic Smile, they have hundreds of thousands of different merchant card-linked offers, right? They're a cashback provider. So they have a bunch of participating merchants. If as a user I go and spend within those merchants, I get a certain amount of cashback. And I spend there because I'm going to the merchant anyway, and I get my discount, right? The merchants like it because they get more sales, even though at a slightly lower margin. We understood that on the user side, microtransactions that are enabled through blockchain would lead to a much better user experience, because they had a threshold of $100 that you had to reach in cashback before you could cash it out, because otherwise the fees and the timeline and the lag was too prohibitive. With a blockchain-based solution, that could be done basically instantly. The minute you get your reward, you can spend it again. Better user experience, more clients you can acquire. On the merchant side, there were obviously payment delays when it comes to invoicing for this cashback and the fees associated with using traditional banking infrastructure across a variety of different territories. There's a challenging optimization problem, and there's a lot of debt that moves around as a part of that. Creating a closed payment economy in that ecosystem allowed the reduction of the debt by 80% and a 25% increase in profit margins, essentially through a more efficient structure of what these discount vouchers look like. So that's quite an in-depth example, but just of how we work as a business. We will come in, we'll understand the use case, we'll bring the platform to help solve that use case, and then we kind of bill it on an ongoing basis. So what we do for Enigmatic Smile is we've provided them all of the blockchain infrastructure, first of all. So they use the Aventus network. They're now spinning into their own network because they need to reach scale with that. That's got bridging capabilities to Ethereum because it needs to be plugged into that ecosystem where necessary. We've provided them a product called the Gateway API, which is an API, but a simple to use API the way people in Web 2 understand, and it does the translation into the more funky elements of Web 3 that they're not necessarily aware of. And then key management solutions, so helping with custodial and non-custodial key management for their user base. And then there's also their token. So we helped with the design of their token and the economic model supporting how these vouchers and their top-level token interact with each other. The way their product works, like at the network layer, is they have these different vouchers that businesses issue out. So as a business receives a transaction, they watch all of the transactions on all the major card networks, right? They see, okay, one of our customers had a transaction in one of our merchants. That allows the merchant to automatically on the blockchain release these discount vouchers to the customer into their wallet. So all of those transactions are happening on chain. And with that closed payment loop, now they don't need to bill that merchant for the money and send it to the customer where the customer can check out. Immediately that blockchain transaction occurs. The customer gets their token, which represents the promise to reaccept this token by the merchant. And then they can spend it in that merchant or other merchants. So essentially you're cutting out the process of billing merchants, paying it to customers, and then customers respending it in one of the participating merchants. All of that is just dealt with by blockchain traffic now until people want to exit the ecosystem. So there's a great efficiency gain in the blockchain network kind of managing all of those transactions, that circular economy. The customers of this solution don't necessarily know they're using blockchain technology at all. The user experience is no different to what they had before. It's improved. The great thing about blockchain technology, even if on a custodial basis, is that if the business doesn't look after their customer, the customer can leave and check out into their own custody at any point. So it really acts as that nuclear deterrent to force businesses to be customer-centric. The number of users that they have active on the platform today is about 1.5 million. They are doing about 1 transaction a second through their system. The VOW token that helps support all of this has kind of been growing constantly and kind of increasing its utility across the market. So really there is significant adoption so far, and it seems to be growing. I think there's almost 100,000 different rewards networks that are now able to access the system. Another area where we operate is within supply chain and logistics. So this has primarily been at Heathrow Airport in the UK. The core problem here, it's looking at cargo tracking. So at any point in time, you have about 10% of ULDs, which are essentially the cargo pods that go into the aircraft, that are missing and people don't know exactly where they are. So this is baggage, this is mail, this is freight. Most people have experienced not having a bag arrive when you get to your destination at some points in their lives, right? And that's because of the difficulties in managing these. What we have been doing is seeing how blockchain can help with this supply chain problem. And it's looking at sort of the transparency, the immutable nature of the technology that really gives greater insight and acts as a backbone of interoperability between the different systems that exist today. So this solution has been live for a while with Aviation Perishables Handling Department, and now there's a variety of other airlines that have started to join as well. And we have proven a 7% net operational gain. So spread out over the whole industry, it's a $1.25 billion saving just with the initial version of this product, never mind as we kind of ramp it up. And that product is focused on, as a ULD comes off an aircraft, the ground handlers don't need any hardware. Many of the solutions today rely on beacons or Bluetooth. That's not needed with our solution. You take the phone that you've been given from your work, you open an app, you point it at the ULD, it uses artificial intelligence, machine vision to extract all the relevant information off of it, generate the various different forms you need for the compliance and regulations, and helps instantly update the records of these ULDs as they move through the different phases. We've now also started exploring how this integration works with the major mobile phone networks. So Vodafone has IoT devices where you can just stick a sticker on the ULD and it'll use cell phone networks to tell you, give you a GPS ping wherever this ULD is, and do so in a flight safe mode as well. So that's the kind of next extension that really makes this solution even more powerful in tracking. Other areas that Aventus is digital collectibles as well. So Beatport, for example, who obviously has a great relationship with Polkadot. They're in the music space, platform for DJs. So what we delivered for them was a digital collectible marketplace where they were able to launch various limited editions of artwork and music associated with those to their community and enable their variety of DJs to be able to do this and show them how this can best be done. So one of the interesting recent ones that was done there was Flume, and they released limited edition songs that were using generative AI to give you a slightly bespoke version of that song. So essentially what we did is we provided all of the technology white label to make that happen. We provided the elements of the marketplace, the blockchain and the infrastructure to make sure that your average music listener and your average DJ can use this technology without the hassle of forgetting their password for their wallet or some of the challenges that we've seen in the Web3 space. This deal was actually a collaboration between Parity Technologies and Aventus to bring it in and ultimately deliver it. So the Parity guys did a lot of work, especially on the sponsorship side and the engagement side with Beatport. And then there's an agency called Define Creative who really did the design elements. That's not something that Aventus Services really has capabilities for. So they built the strategy of what these NFTs should be. They did the design element and ultimately helped Beatport understand what that should look like. So between Parity, Define Creative, Beatport, and Aventus Services, that's how it kind of all came together. Another element we're working on, and this fits quite well within that kind of collectible space, is we've been exploring the Sports Illustrated fan pass. For the consumer, what you're looking at is you would come on and you'd buy your fan pass, right? I'm going to get my Sports Illustrated fan pass. I got my basic tier, I've got my premium tier, something like that. And then I would get access to a variety of this different content and events. They've got various membership programs as well, super elite events around Formula One or different areas. So looking at how those could tie into the SI fan pass holders is a big element. Again, it's that relationship between the fan and the athlete now, and how you can drive greater engagement. So whether it's cameo style videos and shout outs, whether it's watching matches with your favorite celebrity, merch and memorabilia, meet and greets, a variety of different experiences that people know and love, tickets to games, access to areas you can't easily get access to, and the whole gamified experience around that. These are all the elements that are kind of coming together here. And then obviously Aventus is handling the blockchain, the network element, and the marketplace element of this. They've got 51 million unique users that come across their website every month. Across all of their channels, it's like 80 million users on the platform. So this is a really massive opportunity, if we can get it right, to bring it into the Polkadot ecosystem and drive millions of monthly active on-chain users. The road to convincing Web2 businesses to kind of adopt blockchain technology, there's all kinds of challenges, and obviously it varies by industry. So one of the points is the impartial nature of the technology, the fact that blockchain networks aren't owned by anyone, everyone can participate and have an equal seat at the table. There are elements that we've had to kind of deal with ourselves, more constant pricing that we've spoken about to solve some of the pain points, but really it comes down to, can we prove that the solution is ideally an order of magnitude better than the existing technologies that we're using? One of the difficulties with blockchain is the network effect is so powerful. The more people are using it at the same time, the more the value presents itself. But you can't go in and say, okay, we're going to redo everything you have onto blockchain. So figuring out which industries can do the stepwise approach in adopting the technology and realize real benefits all the way along that process, that's one of the really important things in how we kind of pick which markets to go after as well. And then I'd say it's probably just quite traditional selling, going in, building relationships with people, meeting in person, making sure we're always available, and when you get given a chance, really over-delivering on the opportunity. In terms of the adoption cycle, I think we're still very early. It's much more likely that we'll see this happening through parties who already have those trust relationships, the consulting companies, global software integrators, people who already have the deals and understand things, who can then bring in third parties to kind of help deliver those solutions. We're not at the phase where you can just blast out emails and say, we do blockchain really well, and people come to you and say, oh, I know exactly how I want to use your technology. It's still that deep collaboration where you need significant business intelligence from the client to be able to kind of get the solution adopted. The world is becoming more and more targeted and personalized. Decentralization really helps that migration, right? The hyper-personalization of everything. We see it online, where before everybody got the same ad when you were watching TV. Now we all get bespoke ads already, right? And that trend across multiple different sectors is continuing. So the benefit of decentralization is having the fundamental tools available for the hyper-personalization of various offers and various services. I think it's also the change in power in the digital sphere from the parties providing the platforms to the individuals using the platforms. Now we're in a world where if you want my data, then you need to compensate me, or you need to give me something compelling to give you my data. It's not just you can track me and retarget me from wherever as I browse the internet, and a load of people making money off of your data with you ultimately seeing nothing at the end of it. So I think everything is moving more towards the individual having greater control, and therefore also being able to access and personalize everything better, whether it's campaigns or actual services. I I think in the Polkadot ecosystem, to build for mass adoption, there are a few elements that are improving, but places where we can kind of go further as well, right? The changes to the fundamental architecture, the Polkadot 2.0 vision is a great one. Then how that extends to Jam, making sure that pricing is predictable and the flexibility improves. And then I think it's really about how to create a hub in certain verticals, hopefully with deals like Inter Miami, with the IndyCar deal, with this prospective Sports Illustrated partnership. There can be a sports hub that's not just about buying eyeballs through sponsorship, but about delivering real utility on-chain and making that user experience as nice as possible. The technology scales, the technology works. It's just about how do we polish it and make it easy for people to use and deliver on the projects that we're kind of bringing through. The great thing about the Polkadot ecosystem is the quality of the technology, and it really has gone for a fundamentals first approach. The difficulty with that approach is others within the blockchain ecosystem, some have gone the completely opposite way, where they've just bought deals, been very flashy about those deals, shouted about it, and the sexiness of that has attracted the individual users, that buzz. So figuring out how to marry those philosophies with each other, being very good at dealing with the compliance and the regulatory side, which Polkadot really seems to have done well. Making sure that the technology is good. These are the fundamentals, and that's the harder thing to do, which has been solved. Now it's really about how can we drive the users with the sexy use cases. So it's great to see things like the Inter Miami deal being done. I think actively using Treasury to incentivize these parties to come to the ecosystem is the name of the game, because Polkadot's not the first mover there, so it'll take a little bit of extra work to happen, but given strong Treasury, there's the ability, if deployed accurately, to really stimulate that growth, and that's something we hope to be a part of. So I think there are about 1.5 million users active on this now. It's plugged into over 80 of the major rewards networks, from airline networks to shopping networks. So again, proving real utility, real usage, and all built on top of the Aventus network and Polkadot.